Welcome to episode 47, What We Did This Summer.
What a wide range of things we cover in this episode. Everything from where we traveled, how we traveled.
Things like sustainability and self-care and consent.
And a wonderful poem about bringing that energy into our life.
Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
Races,
and backgrounds.
with a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true. Our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome to episode 47, What I Did This Summer.
Or, I know what you did last summer, if we're trying to get to spooky season, which is
Like,
what
woo, woo, woo.
I'm trying to make it October. It's not October.
It's not October yet, but our October will start, well, that's for an upcoming episode, but, well, yeah.
Yeah.
We won't say. Okay. Anyway, so what I did this summer.
Yay!
So this is kind of a free and easy episode. I wrote down some things because I didn't want to forget them, but we don't have. I mean, I guess we do have an intention. Our intention is to share what we did this summer.
So we've been apart, and we even recorded the poetry episode apart over Zoom. Mm-hmm. So just so our listeners know, we're back together.
We're back.
We're back. And we thought it would be interesting to share how we reconnect. Mm-hmm. And I think personally, our chemistry together is something that's really important to me. So by sharing us checking back in together, it might give our listeners a little bit of insight into how our chemistry looks, even in a less structured podcasting setting, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So, let's start. Well, the summer began for me in May, and for you a little bit at the beginning of June, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So why don't we start there? And I'll start.
Okay.
Because I went to a week-long workshop, up in the Hill Country here in Texas. And, well, we're drinking this wonderful drink that has puree of pomegranate
it's wonderful.
And cherries and wolfberries. And I just want to tell you might want to swirl it because I see a lot of...
It's settled?
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff going on down
You
at the
never...
bottom.
I think one should not settle for less than perfection in their...
in their beverage. So. There you go. Okay. Let me see.
I'm stirring it with my finger.
Okay. Let me see if I have like a little napkin.
No, it's okay. Look.
Okay. Oh, you have you carry your napkin with you. There we go. Brilliant. Anyway, so, wow. Yeah, we are.
So
we are pretty relaxed.
You're doing your workshop.
Okay. Yeah. So I did. Oh, for the first time in ages, an early music workshop, up in the Hill Country. And it was delightful. I play viola da gamba. Well, I play at viola da gamba, to be clear. And I hadn't really done. I actually had lessons in the early 2000s. But I've just kind of drifted away from it. Like I've drifted away from a lot of things that give me pleasure. But I decided I was going to do it this year. And I went up and I hadn't practiced a whole lot. And everyone kept saying, you should really be in harder classes because they remembered the last time I did it, which was 6 or 7 years ago. But I haven't played since then. So I did the early classes and I'm so glad I did because it was less pressure. It was so much fun kind of reconnecting with the instrument and reconnecting with people who like to play early music. Like I know a lot of people who love to listen to early music, but they're not musicians. And then a lot of the musicians I know are just across the board, they play a lot of Beethoven and things like that. So this is music that is written in the 14, 15, 16, 1700s. And so it was such a delight. And being in the hill country, it was still warm, the end of May, beginning of June. But it's much drier there, and there's a little bit of a breeze. So it was really pretty comfortable. It was just very, very nice. So that was the beginning of my summer.
That's so wonderful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you came home from that, you looked to me as being very energized.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. And so just one more thing I'd like to add. I was so kind of recharged by and it just reminded me why I love this music. I ended up buying my own viola da gamba. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So are you familiar with viola da gamba? It looks like a cello. It's like an earlier version of the cello.
I know. I was just assuming it was a viola.
Yeah. So it's a family. So the one size is like the size of a viola, and then there's another that's a little bit bigger than that, and then the bass is about the size of a cello.
Do you have any audio recording of you playing the viola da gamba?
No, because that sounds horrible. But I could play. I'll add a little lick of like a really good viola da gamba is Jordi Savall, and so people can hear it.
Okay.
But it's a very clean. Just like singing, a lot of the music from that time is very clear and spare. It's not as rich harmonically or in terms of timbre the way we have things today. So yeah, but it was wonderful.
That's wonderful.
I'm so excited about just the just doing stuff that I love to do that I don't give myself time for. So we've talked about that in self-care.
Yeah.
What about you? So what was the beginning of your summer like?
So the beginning of my summer looked like me really enjoying my time off. So I'm a teacher, so the school year ended, and I knew that my time before we left on the big trip, which I know we'll come back to and talk to, we each had a big trip. So it was just this really delicious, somewhat decadent interlude between work and the trip. So my partner is in school up in Austin and stays with some friends of ours during the week. So those friends were very gracious and like let me come up. And so like not only was it great to be around and see him because he normally comes home on the weekends, but I also got to hang out with them. And so like I had a lot of like morning cups of tea with that girlfriend of mine, like sitting like in a bay window, like slowly drinking tea and just kind of talking and connecting. And she's a real good listener, so we had I was able to kind of share some things with her, and so that was really wonderful. Also, my dance teacher is up in Austin, so I was able to take some private lessons with him, which is like really wonderful because I've only ever been able to take lessons with him when I drive up, and that is
it's hard to fit in your schedule.
Yeah, it's it impedes my ability to have access as frequently as I would like. So it was really wonderful to get to drive up and do those lessons with him, and then I was able to do some social dances. I did have a story that I wanted to share about that. So I know I shared a couple episodes ago about my sleep and like how I was like really focusing on sleep hygiene and sleep as being something that was really important to me, and like at a certain time at night nothing goes in. Like I don't consume anything in my brain because I want to be able to relax and like be. That's
so. I mean, so smart.
Yeah, thank you. It's a challenge. Yeah. But so I shared about like my sleep hygiene and stuff like that, and just like with this past school year. Well, in the past few years, but particularly, I don't know if it was this past school year, but this winter and this past spring was really tough on me emotionally and psychologically. Like I noticed my sleep was suffering. I was just feeling extremely anxious all of the time, like so much so that it was impeding my driving. Like I would be driving and like every car, I was just like assuming that every car was coming to hit me. Like I was just really on edge, and while it's good, to be aware when driving, obviously,
be alert,
right? But it was so much so that like I was I was causing myself to possibly jeopardize my own safety because I was so on edge about, if another car like slightly inched towards me, I was convinced they were veering towards me. Like that sort of like overreaction.
Hyper awareness or hyper sensitivity or something.
Yes, for sure. A lot of the hyper emotions.
Yes.
And then it was also affecting my acro practice. Like I would feel really anxious about doing the skills. And of course there's a certain level of danger inherent in a recreational partner acrobatics because, I'm doing things, but there's also inherent danger in like tennis, like it's just how it is. And of course, like with safe practices and one can navigate that as much as possible. But I was like crying on my way down to the gym to train.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was feeling so anxious. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things, like the pressures of school with like COVID, I had COVID over Christmas, and that was a really rough situation, like with the holidays and like family dynamics. And so like I just think it was a lot of things, both in my life directly, but also just the job that I had and like what was expected from of teachers during COVID. And I think I don't know what happened, but I felt like it kind of coalesced. So the story that I want to tell is I went up to take a dance lesson, and I love dance. I hope that our listeners can tell that I love dance.
Yes.
I love dancing. So much so that I pay a lot of money to go to dance competitions, and like, it's where I invest a lot of time and financial energy. So I'm taking a private lesson with this amazing teacher that I've worked with for so long. I'm approaching probably about 10 years of working with this teacher. Like he's just a phenomenal teacher, a gentle spirit, a lovely human, someone who I like to think of as a friend in addition to being a dance teacher. And he like tells me we're working on some things, and he's like, you need to grow at like offering your voice in the dance. So I'm like, okay, like that's hard, but that's one of the reasons why I love this dance is that there's a lot of room for the follower to add instead of just being told what to do for 4.5 minutes. Right. So he like tells me we're going to do this game where he dances and I mirror him. And then I dance and he mirrors me. And then we just go back and forth and take turns. Sounds fun, right? I lost it. I just crumbled under the pressure and I started crying.
Oh my gosh.
And like, because I was just so anxious about being put on the spot like that. Now, what's interesting to me is like, that is not really who I am. I love being put on the spot.
I was going to say, you're like, just show me my spot. Give me my spotlight.
Right. And I love dancing and I love performing, and I love all of these things. So when that happened and I got really emotional, and he was very sweet and handled it very well. Like he's a very skilled teacher. And I eventually did the drill and was okay. It was fine. It was fine. But it was kind of my cue of like
a marker.
I need some R&R. Like I need to take care of myself because this is something that's really like showing up in my life. And if these are the ways I'm noticing it, then there's a million ways that I'm not noticing it yet.
Oh, so, I never thought of that. Yeah.
So, and I also knew that I had this big trip planned. So I wanted to make sure I really worked on it to make sure that I was able to enjoy the trip.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
So I upped my level of therapy. I stopped drinking caffeine.
I was going to ask if that was when you stopped.
Yes, because I read that therapy. I read that caffeine can intensify anxiety, or like the body can't really tell the difference between like a caffeinated experience versus an anxious experience. So I'm still caffeine free right now. I did a number of things. So things are going good.
Yay.
Things are going good.
Yay.
But it was definitely one of those things where I'm just grateful that I was in that. I had the luxury of being in this like interim between things where I had the luxury of like really focusing on myself and enjoying some things and slowing down in a way that would help me. Because I think a lot of times in my life and also a lot of times in other people's lives I see it's just like, well, let's try to squeeze that in. But this was a time where I had a lot of space.
How much time did you give yourself? Was it like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Because I know you started traveling, but how much time do you feel like you really were able to indulge in that slowing down and relaxing?
I had about 3.5 weeks.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out. It worked out really, really well. And I didn't stop those things whenever I started traveling, but it was just I took them with me and I tried to make it fit as best I could.
Of course,
while traveling. Mm-hmm. But it was, of course, a little bit harder. And now I'm back at work, so it's much harder. But I'm grateful for those 3.5 weeks of practice prior to. Can you,
if you feel like sharing, what have you what of the practices have you maintained like now?
Mm-hmm. I'm still doing no caffeine. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a lot of like natural. I am open to pharmaceutical intervention. However, I was really hoping that I wouldn't have to get there. So I've been doing some natural things that help with anxiety, like holy basil, which is just wonderful.
Are you doing it as a tea?
I do a supplement of the holy basil, gotcha. And then I was doing temporarily an ashwagandha supplement, but ashwagandha can mess with thyroid, and while I don't have thyroid issues, they run in my family, so I was just careful. I did that for like a small amount of time, and then I've been doing this like they're called adaptogens.
Yes.
So, like reishi mushroom is like the most famous of adaptogens, but I've been doing a lot of adaptogens in my food and in like teas.
Oh, good.
And so I replaced my morning cup of like black tea or chai tea with an adaptogen tea.
Brilliant.
So I feel like I took the like throw everything, like throw the spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. And so someone asked me a couple days ago, they're like, "Do you think the adaptogens help?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Yeah, because you changed so many things at the same time.
I was just like Hail Marying, like I need help. Like I'm going to increase my therapy. I'm going to do all these things. So I'm not sure like what helped. All I know is I'm feeling better. I'm doing better. I was going to
ask. Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Okay.
Exactly what, but all of it's lovely.
Yay. And now that you're back at school, are you still maintaining some of that calm, that relaxation?
I'm trying to. I feel a little bit like the kid who's touched the hot stove. Like the school is the hot stove. And so I feel some trepidation about the winter and the spring.
Gotcha.
Because the winter and the spring are when it was really hard the past 2 years with COVID. So I'm hoping that I'll keep these habits up, and hopefully it will prepare me to better navigate the fall, the winter and spring if things unfold in a certain way.
Okay. And just as an aside, we'll talk after, but I think I have an essential oil that might help you.
I would be so down for that.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk. Okay.
I can't believe I didn't think to ask.
You don't. No, you don't. And sometimes I don't. I there's a friend, and I'll say, "Oh, I'm going through this," and she'll say, "Oh, well, what oil did you use?" Yeah. Exactly. So, okay. All right. Well, good. You are such a model to me. Those are all things that I say I'm going to do. And you notice I said, those are all things that I say I'm going to do. So thank you for actually doing that and showing me it can be done. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to say that I did it from a place of like loving gentleness, but instead I did it from a place of holy shit. This is not how I want to live. I got to do something. Just throwing everything in the kitchen, the kitchen sink. Just like, what can I try?
Sometimes intense trauma is a high motivator.
I was very motivated, and knowing that I had this trip coming up, it was like I really want to be in a better place before.
Yeah. Good.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, can I hear about your big trip?
Yes, you can. Okay. But before my big trip, you were talking about some of the things that you did.
Okay.
Some of the things that I actually, there's a couple of personal development people that I really like, and so I did a 21-day challenge. They call them a challenge, but it's basically 21 days of, they send you homework and things like that. So I did that this summer, and it just, it's not, the stuff that we did is very similar to what I did with him last summer, but I'm in a different place now, and I, your needs are, it's like they say with supplements, you pull in what you need at the time. And so that was really, really helpful. I didn't do as much of it as I wanted, but I found that the little bit that I did was super, super helpful, so that I can get my head into a frame. I mean, I had time off from school, and initially I wasn't enjoying it. I was just still running around, or sitting on the computer all day and wondering what happened to my day. And so doing some of that work, and a lot of it is just, setting intentions, a little bit of meditation, some journaling. And I had a morning practice that I did every day, and I felt as if I could really feel my vibrational frequency rise. And so it was wonderful. I had a few weeks, kind of like you, I had a few weeks where I could do some of that work. But the other thing, one of the reasons I had very little scheduled this summer is, for once in my life, I decided I'm going to focus on something. I was supposed to be doing a play. I don't know if you remember, and the play got postponed because we had one of the cast members had a death in the family. But there's no advantage to that. So I'm not going there. But the advantage was that I had this whole summer where I really could show myself that I don't have to overschedule. And so that was a wonderful thing. The play got postponed. It's now the end of October, so you'll get a chance. It was like, damn. You'll get a chance to come and see it.
Yay!
Good. I'm glad you said that. And that time was not wasted. So that was good. But talking about my trip.
Yes.
So, okay. So, my trip was phenomenal. I think I might have sent you a couple of pictures here and there, but so what I did was I flew into Laguna Beach, and the intent for that, I was going to be in Laguna Beach for 2 days, and my intention for that was to go to the Pageant of the Masters, which is a huge festival. It's like 2 months long almost, and there's an art festival where local artists display their work, and you can spend time and you can buy stuff if you really want, and food and music and all that kind of stuff. But then the highlight of this is every night they have a show. It's a staged production in which they recreate artworks on stage with people, with humans, and color and lights and designs and sets and costumes and stuff, and it was really lovely.
Wow.
Yeah. So I flew into Laguna Beach. My goddaughter, who lives in West Hollywood, took the train down, and we spent a couple of days together. It was so much fun. What was super funny about this was that when I first asked her to do this a few months ago, and she was super, super keen on it, she sent me, she may actually listen to this episode, but anyway, I don't care. She sent me a link to a hotel that she said, look at this. This might be something that we can do. And so I looked at it, and I followed the link, and it said $250 a night. And then I said, well, let me go ahead and see how much it's going to cost to book it, with all the taxes and stuff. And it's $250 a night, like generically, like just any night that's not during the Festival of the Masters.
Yeah.
When it leaps to $500 a night.
Holy moly!
So I saw that, I was like, fuck that, and I went and got an Airbnb. And then I went back and looked at the text that she sent me more carefully, where she said, look at this and see if you like it. We could split it. And that really kind of, it really set me back for a moment, because I am so used to her being my goddaughter. She's kind of frozen as a teenager or whatever, where I take her out, I treat her to this, I buy her dinner, I send her money for her birthday, all that kind of stuff, right? She's a grown woman.
Yeah.
She's in her early 30s. And I never flipped that switch that she meant. Like a grown-up, when I travel with someone else, we'll split the hotel. Duh. But, so that was kind of an eye-opener. But, then I looked at it. So this is the third time I went and looked at her text. She was the one who had sent me that link. And I'm thinking that maybe she just saw that it was $250 a night, saying, okay, we can split that. Not knowing that during the pageant of the Masters is $500 a night.
Yeah.
So the old Kimberlyn would dithered, and I wondered, what should I say to her? Maybe talk to a couple of friends. What do you think I should say to her? Maybe I shouldn't say anything and just pay it and just swallow it and all this kind of stuff. But the new Kimberlyn just sent her a text and said, oh, when you sent this, I didn't know how much you thought it was going to be, but it's really $500 a night. However, I really want to stay at this place, so why don't you just send me what you can or what you want? Like, isn't that normal? That's probably what you would have done, right?
That's a wonderful, that's a very generous, like, why don't you pay me, why don't you send me whatever you would like to pay?
Yeah.
I find that, my experience of that would be very generous.
Oh, okay, good, I'm glad. Well, but it never, the old me wouldn't have thought about that. I would have, thought, well, what should I do? What should I do? Like, so... It's like normal human interaction that somehow has bypassed me in all of my years. So anyway, I sent her that. She sent me some money. It was fabulous. I mean, she didn't even wait. It was like she Apple paid me or whatever, like within 2 minutes of getting the thing. So it was wonderful. And if I ever go back to Laguna Beach, which I would like to, and I'm by myself, I'd still pay $500 a night. I showed you the pictures, right?
Yes.
We were right on the frickin' beach. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. The hotel was fun. It was, it wasn't super, super fancy or anything like that, but the pool was phenomenal. We actually spent more time at the pool than we did on the beach.
Oh, I love that.
But the beach, I mean, we could see it. We walked along the beach. And I did some, there's some cliffs and tidal pools, and I explored that. It was fabulous. I highly recommend. I think it's supposed to be one of the top beaches in the country.
Wow.
So I highly recommend, if you ever get to out to California, go down to Orange County and go to Laguna Beach. So
can I tell you something? I love tidal pools.
Oh, then when we're done, I'm going to show you I took a video.
I just feel like, so I've always wondered why I'm so attracted to tidal pools. I think it has something to do with liminal space.
Oh, yes.
Because I love liminal space. I like spring and fall. I like transition. I like this liminal space. You would love this. I love tidal pools.
Pacific Ocean. I'm so used to the Atlantic, so I know when the ocean's on one side, which direction. So the ocean's there, Pacific, so heading north. So north of the hotel, but immediately north of the hotel, it becomes cliffs. And so the beach kind of peters out for a little bit, and then I think it picks up about a half mile further south. But where this little grotto kind of place is, it's inaccessible at high tide. But when it's low tide, you can actually sit on the sand, put a towel down or whatever. But there's all these rocks in there. So I was taking little videos. I'll show it to you when we're done, of like the little life that's in there, and just oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. It's phenomenal. So whoops. Oh well. So but it was wonderful. So so then that was 2 days. Then I flew up to Bellingham, Washington. A dear friend of mine lives up there now, and spent about 4 days there, and that was another. I mean, these were like, okay, one peak experience, another experience is the peak slightly higher, and we did a sunset catamaran cruise. It was, I mean, so Bellingham Bay. This is like Puget. It's an inlet from the Puget Sound, or I don't know, an extension of the Puget Sound. So just picture huge evergreen trees, blue water, blue sky. Wow. Just gorgeous. It was just phenomenal. I'll show you some pictures later. It was gorgeous. I had such a blast. So we did, like I said, the sunset catamaran cruise. I loved it so much that the next time I go, I asked my friend to consider renting that or reserving it, because it's his boat, and he captains it, and his teenage daughter, so sweet, helped him, and like she would help him with the unfurl. Thank you. The sails, and she's like a little monkey scampering around the boat. Anyway, I'd like to hire them for like a day and a half. And because they have bedrooms, it has bedrooms, and he said his daughter, she's not super fancy cook, but she can cook. So I like just rent them, and then for like a day and a half or 2 days, just go into all of those little inlets and coves and stuff along the bay, and have some good food, and just I really, really make a big thing out of that, as opposed to the couple of hours that we did. And speaking of, we ate we ate ourselves silly. Now I know you're a vegetarian, but oysters. I mean, oysters. Oh my gosh, we just ate. We ate. It was phenomenal.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then finally, we hiked. We did a small hike on Mount Baker. So the place that we spent the most time hiking, my friend had gone there 2 weeks before, and she said it was under 6 feet of snow. So, as we get into August, the snow pulls back a little bit, and then obviously I think they start getting snow again in September, but, or at least that part does. But I hiked up there, again, gorgeous vistas. It was beautiful. So, yeah, really peak experiences. And then, the last peak experience was that I, took a train from Seattle to LA. It was gorgeous. It was just it was gorgeous for part of it, because I didn't see a whole lot. I was on the inside cabin, so not on the side that would face the ocean, and we were only on the ocean for a part of it anyway. But it was just so relaxing. It's just, I love to drive, and I love to see the country, etc. And so it's kind of like all of the good things about driving and none of the bad things about driving. Like, I don't have to drive.
Yes.
I can just sit there. I brought books. I brought crocheting. I mean, it was lovely. It was lovely. So, I liked it so much. And the food was good.
Ooh.
Everyone has said the food was good, but I thought they were kind of like comparing it to, like, airplane food. No, the food was good. Where, there's someone actually cooking your food. It was just phenomenal. So, wow. Highly, highly, highly recommend it.
That's so neat. I love the idea of taking trains. And I'm just a big fan of public transportation in general, because imagine even if it takes me 15 minutes to drive to work every day. What if I had that 15 minutes where I wasn't driving? Where I was passively being transported.
Yes.
I just don't understand why we don't have better
public transportation. Yeah. Well, because we're a car state.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, we could talk a lot.
That's another episode. We'll write that.
We do understand, actually, why we don't. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Even though we're a huge city, but
yeah,
7th largest city in the
last I checked, we were the 7th largest city
in the country.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah.
That sounds so wonderful.
It was wonderful. And coming back last week, normally I would have a holiday and then, plan it to the very last minute and then come back to school. I had a week to kind of just savor it. So I didn't jump, both feet right back into school. So that was lovely. And I can think about it more and just enjoy it more. Enjoy the reminisce, the memories of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are glowing as you talk about it.
Oh, yeah,
and that makes me happy.
Yes. Well, so tell me about your trip.
Sure. I would love to. So, to spoiler alert, everything was great. So for people who heard my somewhat stressful check-in about the first part of my song, so just spoiler alert, everything worked out really well. So my partner and I drove to Las Vegas. We stopped and stayed with some friends in El Paso, and it was lovely. They took us out for some really amazing vegan food. It was so good. But man, the drive between San Antonio and Las Vegas is a whole lot of nothing. People who are familiar with West Texas, it's a whole lot of West Texas. About half of our trip was just getting out of Texas. Yeah. And West Texas is very empty. But we got to Las Vegas. We saw the Hoover Dam, which was cool. Actually, it was really hot.
I was going to say, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. It was so hot.
Yeah. It was fascinating.
It was very fascinating.
Hot as hell.
But hot as hell, yes. And I just get a kick out of walking between the Nevada-Arizona border. It was just really fun. But something I love about traveling, I like traveling for long periods of time. But traveling so that I can, because I'm an intense traveler, I want to do all of the things. But by being somewhere for a long period of time, it allows me to do all of the things with breaks in between.
Yes.
So I'm sure that there would be some people who consider the pace that we kept for the month that I was there to be like too intense for them. But for me, it's slightly unsustainable, but I don't have to sustain it because I was only there for a month, you know, and I thought the same thing whenever I was in China for a little over 2 months. I don't have to sustain this because it's not sustainable, but while I'm here, it's what I want. So what my partner was in his clinic, during the day, I would go and take classes at some studios. And so I took a lot of different circus classes for hand balancing and flexibility. And so that was really wonderful. I had some amazing coaches from all over the world. And that was just really great. I learned so much. I got so much stronger. I got so much more flexible, which is a wonder for me. I'm not inherently the most bendy person.
See, okay. That's I have to slot that into what I think I know about you. So.
Me compared to some people that I train with, I'm not the most flexible.
Okay, gotcha.
But like she was really great, and one of my hand balancing teachers was really great about my spinal curvature and like giving me some really great corrections on like. This feels like you're lying in a handstand, but actually, like, you have to, like, move your rib this way, move your hip this way, shift your weight this way. This is actually you being a straight line.
So you had that sensation. Yeah. And so you would know. Yeah.
Because what feels straight to me is not straight. That's me compensating with my back, my curvature, and then me compensating for my curvature. So it was really interesting having her, like, it felt like a Jenga tower, you know, her just like pressing the blocks back into a Jenga tower all the way from the bottom up. And so that was really cool, and I really appreciated her feedback on that. But that was really fun. And then my partner and I also did a lot of partner acrobatics when he got out of the clinic. So we were able to train, and that was really great. We unlocked some skills that we had been working on, and that was really exciting.
That's phenomenal.
I did feel somewhat anxious at the place that we were training, but I was able to use some of the skills that my therapist had given me, so that was really good. So I'm sure I looked like a silly person because I would like jump up and down and like cause the vibrations to shake through my body, like similar to like my therapist explained to me, like after a dog gets startled, like they'll shake, they'll like shake their full body to like discharge the stress,
the adrenaline.
And, and so like we as humans don't necessarily do that. So like I would just jump up and down so that like I would kind of get a gentle jolt to run through my body, and I'm sure, and then I would put my arms up in the air and like jump up and down and then repeat my affirmations. So I'm sure I looked a little bit whatever.
Fuck them.
But it doesn't matter. I was able to do my skills, and that's exactly what matters. But I was very proud of where I was in my anxiety journey to be able to do some things that I think were pretty scary and pretty edgy for me. So that was really good. And then, so we were in Las Vegas for a month. We were able to do some really wonderful sightseeing. So we saw 4 shows. We saw 2 Cirque du Soleil shows. Yes. And then we saw 2 Spiegel World shows, which are like a different, I probably am going to offend some people who know more about this than I do, but I would just say it's like a different brand of show. Like Cirque du Soleil is a brand, and Spiegel World is another brand. They're 18 and up, adult centered entertainment, so there's like a lot of cussing and other things.
But it's dance and
acrobatics. It's acrobatics and hand balancing and
It's called Spiegel World?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a couple of Spiegel World shows in Las Vegas, and so we saw 2 of those, and they were lovely. And then we also saw another show. We saw Penn and Teller do some magic, and that was kind of like a classic.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But it's
a Vegas thing to do.
Yes, yeah. But it was wonderful, and I just learned so much. And my partner and I are not gamblers, nor are we really drinkers, so we didn't really do any of that. But I just love Las Vegas I love the absurdity of it, and I enjoy absurdity a lot, which I think part of the reason why I really enjoy satire. I've always enjoyed satirical writing and satirical comedy. So just like everything is just so weird.
Yeah, I know. Do we talk? For some reason, it feels like we've discussed this. I don't know if we did it on the podcast or just in general, but yeah. That's Vegas. It's this juxtaposition of all of these kind of atmospheres, like universes almost, you know. And and no one blinks an eye about it.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why I like it, is because I'm blinking my eyes watching everyone else really enjoy it, and I'm just like, this is just absurd. Like, this is actually absurd.
Yeah.
And there was a point where the apartment that we rented for the month was really nice. It was a small little apartment, but from the back porch, I could look out and see the Strip.
Oh, sweet.
So you know, it's somewhat far away, but because Vegas is in the desert, it's like I can see, you know, and there are not a lot of trees because it's in the desert. So there's nothing really obstructing the view. So I can see the Strip, and I can see that the giant, it's called the High Roller. It's like a giant, what I would call a giant Ferris wheel, you know. I can see that. I can see the Strip. I can see the light shooting up into the sky from the Luxor, you know, and I'm just like, holy cool. Whoa, you know. And then I walk to my front porch, and I can see the mountains in the distance.
Wow.
And, you know, just that juxtaposition of this, like, absurd, man-made, debaucherous, you know...
conglomeration of cultures. And...
yeah, like, you know, and then there's these beautiful... like, so much beautiful art taking place in these shows, you know, and the architecture. And then there's all this, like, gambling and, like, you know, like... like... just all of this like stuff mixed together, and then I walk out my other door and I'm like, damn, those mountains are beautiful.
Yeah,
you know,
we need to go for a hike this weekend.
If it wasn't 118 degrees,
well, there you go.
I did like zero outdoor stuff, other than walking the Strip because it was too hot, which is sad for me because I love nature, but I don't love the heat.
Yeah,
so
I hear. I've always been there when it's been. Well, I've been there once, but I hear that there's some nice hiking outside of you know, once you get outside of the city.
Yeah, I've had some other times I went to the Vegas area. I've had amazing hikes, but they were in the middle of winter, which makes it comfortable.
Yeah.
But I was not comfortable outside, but I was very comfortable doing the things that I did. But it was a lovely trip. I was grateful. Like, I kept up with my commitment as much as I could to like protecting my sleep.
Yes.
I continued therapy.
Great.
I continued like my journaling. I continued taking my supplements. I upped my exercise, which felt lovely. I was very exhausted.
Which helped with the sleep.
Which helped with my sleep, yes.
Yeah.
You know, and then I was having these beautiful experiences. And I met really wonderful people. Some of the gyms that we trained at, there were a lot of professionals there who are in the shows that we saw. And it was
sweet.
I mean, so like the one thing I wanted to share about that was I oftentimes say, like, I don't want to be the smartest person in a room. You know, like if that's true, then I'm in the wrong room. And that is a hard way to live and a challenging way to live, but it's inspiring and humbling. And being in these places where, like, I am not joking, like actually, like, these people's warm-ups are better than my peak skill. Yeah. You know, the peak skills that my partner and I are working on. And I say that, like, humbly, and like they deserve that. Like, they've dedicated their life to this. I'm a recreational partner acrobat, you know, like, I do it for fun. I have a 9-to-5, you know, this is these people's lives. They've literally trained their whole life to do these things. So I just say it in a place coming from humility and awe and appreciation for what they've given. But it's intimidating.
I can imagine.
It's intimidating. You know, I would tell my partner, I was like, can we just go train somewhere else? And he's like, no, we have to train here. This is where I'm like, okay, good, fine. And then we would do what we were doing. And of course that's fine. But, like, gosh, it's just so inspiring to watch these, what the human body is capable of, you know, and then seeing how far we came in a month. It's so inspiring, and I'm so proud of what we've done and what I did and what I brought to that partnership. But, oof, it's beautiful.
And it's nice to see where, if you do this for another 40 years, where you could end up.
Right. If I turned back time and started whenever I was 6 in Mongolia, training with one of the top hymn mountain coaches. Where could I be?
Yeah. But it's not, I can imagine it's intimidating, but inspirational. And in your way, I'm sure for other people, you are well, I know for me, when it comes to all that stuff, you're incredibly intimidating and inspirational. So
yeah.
So you're on the spectrum of you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And the other thing that it reminded me of was how I put myself in these situations where I'm very uncomfortable. You know, like it never got comfortable for me walking into that gym, because I would see all these people and I'd be like, oh my gosh, these people are so amazing. You know, and then we would go to the shows and we'd see them with the costuming, the lights, and like, oh my gosh, they're so gorgeous. But it reminded me of being here and in my spiritual practice, how I challenge myself, and then I do these things, like I do these rituals, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Like, why?
Yeah.
I could have just done a much simpler ritual or something like less edgy, you know, like why do I?
You coulda.
I coulda. But then I don't have these experiences. And then afterwards, when I look back, I'm very appreciative. But it does not make the process any easier or more comfortable.
Nope.
It's just doing things uncomfortable. Like, I just got to be okay with being uncomfortable. So people are asking me like, oh, that must have been a nice vacation. And I have to like pull because I want to be like, was not a vacation. We do call
I
it
worked my ass off.
Right. We call it a traincation because you
a traincation. Yes.
And you kind of had a traincation
I had a traincation too, but a totally different
type
train.
of train. But I have to pull myself back, and I'm just like, yes, it was quite lovely, but it was not a vacation. But it was a really lovely experience that was challenging and humbling and inspiring, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Well, would you mind sharing, to the extent that you're able, what are some of the things that you did during your time in Vegas that, you know, like you're still, how do I want to put this? So you're back at school.
Yes.
And I don't know where your partner is now in training or rotations and all that kind of stuff, but has that just ended? Like, that was the experience, it was great? Or is there something that's kind of bled through or leaked through or blossomed into what you're doing now?
For sure. So he had to stay 2 extra weeks to finish up his rotation. He's back now. But I would say, like, I have a renewed sense of like vigor about enjoying training. So that's really nice. The anxiety I was feeling prior to going to Vegas I'm still doing a lot better. And so we're actually progressing from the skills that we got while we were in Vegas. So we're working on those, which where we train in San Antonio is obviously a less than ideal training environment, because that was like one of the top places ever in the world to train, you know. So doing that in a less than ideal environment is adds a level of challenge.
There you go.
You know?
Thank you for framing that way. Yeah.
So that's been exciting. Like, I'm really proud that we're able to do what we did there here, you know. And then we're working on leveling up those skills.
Excellent.
So that's really good. But I think my biggest takeaway is, like, now that I'm back here, I want to continue on the personal growth path to keep working on myself and make sure that I keep these gains that I've made. So I'm just really trying to take care of my sleep and still do like therapy and all the things. Because it's quite lovely to have a break from work, you know, for 2 months, but that's not sustainable.
And yeah, because you have work for 10 months or whatever.
Right. And I don't want to not live for 10 months to then only live for 2 months. I want to live for 12 months out of the year.
Exactly. Yeah.
So taking care of myself, I had the luxury of taking care of myself in somewhat of a vacuum, you know, but
yes,
now
isn't
I'm
it nice
now
when
I'm
you're away?
Yeah. But now I'm back. And so it's like, I want to continue to do that.
Good for you. Good
Thanks.
for you. And I mean, well, thank you first of all for sharing that. I really appreciate that, because that's always one of the things that I think about when I have one of these wonderful, you know, experiences. Okay, so what, I can't do the thing that I did then now because, you know, that's Rome or whatever, and I'm in San Antonio. But what are some of the things that I can extract from that experience that I can still incorporate into my experience here, because it just it enriches it, but also it keeps it from fading. I'm not sure if that's the word I'm looking for, but definitely keeps it present. Yes, it keeps the feeling of it present.
Yeah. And I think I wonder how you'll feel about this, but like this, the spell, the hypnotic spell of the mundane life can, I think, rob me of really pulling out the enjoyment of the day to day, whether it be the beauty of a tree at one of the campuses that I teach at, or seeing friends on the weekends, or going to the gym, and the marveling at how strong my body can be to do these things, and I think when I pull myself out and I put myself in these other situations, and mine just happened to be like a pretty extreme one of going, and training at this place in Las Vegas, like it helps me remember that just because my everyday life experience is my everyday life experience doesn't mean that it's not exceptional.
Right. Yes. That's a great way of putting that. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, sure. No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So, so I have one more thing to share.
Okay.
My summer was not totally done. So school started on Monday, but, Monday as of our recording, but the weekend right before that, I went up to a workshop on, have you heard of the Wheel of Consent?
No, but okay. I am excited to hear about it. Like, that sounds wonderful.
It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience. I am not going to go into all of it, but the bottom line is, I think it develops out of like relationships, like sexually based relationships, whatever. But the premise is okay. So the wheel is just a series of actions and who they're for. So one of the things that we talked about is, let's say I'm going to take it away from sex because this is more of an exercise, but let's say you're talking about you're in relationship with someone, and I don't know, you want to kiss them, okay? So in common, out in the real world, basically you'd say, "Can I kiss you?" or you might just kiss them, right? In this practice, you have to be really cognizant of what you're asking for and what and who is the receiver. So she uses the word the gift, and the idea is that with the gift, someone is the receiver and is accepting this present, and this present can be this action. So, for example, I can say, I would. How does it work? May I kiss you? No, wait. Would you give me the pleasure of kissing you? Okay. Oh. Or I could say, would you give me the pleasure of kissing you? Okay. Or I can say, what would you like? And through that offer this opportunity of kissing you, etc. But I mean, I'm going to make a total hash of it, but the idea is that often what we think of as someone doing something to someone as being, I am doing this to you, and I'm doing this, am I doing it for your pleasure or my pleasure? And so as you do these exercises for this, it makes you just really, really cognizant of who's doing what to whom, which is often pretty clear, but the reason behind who's doing what to whom. So am I kissing you because I know you like to be kissed? Am I kissing you because I want to be kissed and I'm asking you to participate in that with me? And so this whole idea is just, because you often, so when we think of a lot of our actions, we think of, so she gives this example of the woman who developed this thinking is called Betty Martin. And she gives this example of them going to her being with her partner, and her partner saying something about going up to Vancouver for the weekend. And so they go up to Vancouver for the weekend, and once they are there, she thinks that she's going up to Vancouver because he wanted to go, and he's thinking that they're going to Vancouver because he knew she liked Vancouver. And neither one of them, it wasn't that they didn't want to be there, but
Right.
they didn't necessarily want to be there.
Yeah,
Does that make
yeah.
sense? But they were doing it because they thought the other person wanted it. And so if you get good at this practice, you get better clarity about who's doing what for or to whom. And it just makes, I mean, she says, like, you don't do this when you're having sex, like, would you touch my breast or whatever.
Right.
But she said she calls that sex is like a symphony. And this is like practicing your scales.
Oh.
But through practicing your scales, you get better at all of the techniques. So when it's time to play the symphony can go smoothly. You don't have to worry about it, et cetera, et cetera. So I just spent the weekend just really thinking about what human interaction is and why are we doing it? Who does it serve? And then how do you make sure how do you ensure that you have that clarity?
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I'm still processing, obviously, but it was just wonderful.
Something that you bring to my life is a real attention to words and the sort of responsibility or intention behind them. You know, and our listeners may have heard this when you shared about your air conditioner.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you saying, I get, you know, instead of I have to. And I just hear the similar undertones of the power of like asking someone, like, would you give me the pleasure of kissing you instead of like, can I kiss you? Because then, you know, I just think that that's really powerful. Wow.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. And one of the things that I learned is that one of the seminal questions is, what would you like? And well, whatever you want. No. What is your desire? And that is really hard. She said that, like, I can't remember. She said a percentage of people find that's where they kind of like hit a wall. It takes them a while to kind of, you know, when you're with someone, we often think of what's going to make them happy, what's going to make them, you know, what's going to please them, or, you know, what's going to excite them or whatever, how they're going to feel. Well, what do you want? And I mean, or we talk ourselves into saying, we talk ourselves into thinking that we're doing something for someone else when we're really doing it for ourselves, right? You know, we're saying, oh, we're giving them, but no, you really wanted to do that. And there's nothing wrong with these types of interactions, but the point of this work is to just have that clarity, because then, first of all, you can make sure that you get what you want. And you can make sure that there's none of this yuckiness where you're wondering if the other person is getting their needs met, because they will, if they're participating in this practice, you will know what they want. And so when, you know, so it's just another relationship tool for setting boundaries, understanding how you can work within those boundaries and still be with another person.
Wow.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I see how impactful that could be. And I know you specifically said you didn't want to couch this in sex, because I can see how, imagine being in a work environment where your boss uses language like this, you know, or you can use this language with your coworkers, or I'm thinking in our circle, you know, when we are, whenever we're trying to figure out who's going to be on the ritual team and who wants to do what. Gosh, I cannot tell you how many times it's been like, who wants to do this? And people are like, oh, well, I could do it unless someone else wants it, and I could do it, well, but I could do it, well, but I don't really want to do it. I was just going to do it because no one else was going to do it. You know, like,
yes.
I personally think people in our circle are really accommodating and wonderful, you know?
Yes.
But, like, just that powerful language of, like, I desire this.
I want to do this. Yeah.
Wow.
So, anyway, so that was the very end. That was the foot of my summer that kicked me into school. So.
Wow, what I think my brain would feel like ground beef after having my mind blown just consistently for an entire session like that. Ugh.
And that's why I say I'm still, you know, it was Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm still totally processing. So that's why I said I'm probably doing a hash of sharing all of the. I'm definitely not sharing any of the nuances because I've barely grasped them myself. But it was wonderful. It gave me a lot to think about.
Well, just like I shared how I'm bringing some of those lessons and inertia from my summer into my school year. It sounds like that is something that you could take.
Oh my god. It's so funny. I can't remember. There was something in one of my classes, either Monday or Wednesday, and I said to the students, I started to say, well, if you'd like, and I stopped, and I said, I would like you to do this. Now you tell me how you feel about that.
Ooh.
And they were like, whoa. As opposed to this wishy-washy, what would you guys like to do? Just telling them what I wanted. And then you can, the beauty of this is that they can still say no, right? Mm-hmm. But they know what they're saying no to, or saying yes to, or saying we need to think more about it, or could you give me more information? But it's so clear that I'm saying this because I want to do it in this class, not necessarily because it's good for your development or it's good for this, that, or the other. It is, and that's the beauty of this is that it can have. She calls it bonus pleasure or bonus something. I can't remember, but I have to look at my notes. But we can have that moment where exactly what I want is exactly what you want. But it's clear though that it's because I want it, and you're the one of the terms that they use is open-hearted. You're willing with an open heart. Ooh. And so that means it's not necessarily something you would have thought of to do, but now that you know that I want it, you can with an open heart say, yeah, let's do it. Isn't that brilliant? Oh my gosh. And as an Enneagram 2, finding places of open-hearted willingness is feels so good, as opposed to a closed-hearted servitude. Or resentment.
Which I can definitely fall into. Was there anything that you noticed with the intersectionality between your identity and this consent practice that rubbed you a certain way?
It sounds like you already know the answer to this, but
I'm guessing, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. I really want to hear.
It just highlighted for me how passive aggressive what a passive aggressive field I've been playing in for a good. I've started to dig myself out of that in the past 10 years, I feel. And like I said, my mom and we were both kind of, I got it honestly, right? But she also, even at her age, could see it, and so we had done in our own way different ways of kind of digging our way out of that, and I have a long way to go. I mean, not a long way to go, but I see where I am on the journey, and I can look back and see some great strides that I've made, and how far along I've come, and then I can look ahead and say, okay, well let's keep doing this. So the passive aggressive, definitely that kind of martyr. I think, I'm going to do this because, as you pointed that out to me just recently, where.
Oh, yay! But that was, I hope that felt loving.
It did.
Do you want to share? Do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I can't remember. It was something.
It would delight me if you offered me the opportunity to listen to you share.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I would love to share.
Okay.
So there was a part of the ritual that you were doing, or the ritual, let's call it, that we were doing last week for our circle, and you asked if there was anyone who was interested in doing that, and there were 3 of us who were kind of the ones who mainly do it, and so I sent out an email, and no one was able to do it, and so I said, oh well, okay, you know what, I'll do it, and you said. And I'm motioning to you.
I said, I think I said something like, I would love for you to do that. And I heard you say that you wanted to take this ritual off because you've been a part of every ritual so far.
I think so this
year.
Yeah.
So I said either way is great for me, but I just want to remind you that that's what you said to me. And I respect and honor it if you choose not to.
And you offered the opportunity. You said, this is something that we normally do every time we meet. And you said, and we don't actually have to do it. We can be sustainable by just not doing it. There's a thought. Not just because we've been doing it doesn't mean it has to be done. And this could be the time we don't. And I was like, whoa. I really had to breathe in a couple of times, and yeah, and thank you. I think I wrote back. It's like, thank you so much.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was wonderful. First of all, telling me what I said I wanted to do, reminding me, and opening that space so that I could stop for a moment and get off the treadmill that I'd kind of gotten myself on, and say, okay, just because it's been done doesn't mean I have to do it. So
I also took a lot of pleasure. I didn't cross it out of the ritual plan, but I made a note in the ritual plan that it was not happening due to sustainability.
Yes, you did that. I think it was one of the posts that you made for the group.
Yes, and then and then when I posted on the group, I said the same thing. And I really enjoyed that because I want people to see, first of all, we want people to support us and to engage, and the more people we have supporting and engaging, the more sustainable it can be. And then second of all, I wanted to show it as a model. Like, look, whoever, and I didn't use names, but like whoever the facilitators may have been for this are not doing it for sustainability reasons. Like, how awesome is that? And like, that gives me permission in the future to take care of myself. So I just thought it was great all around.
I was going to say it was beautiful all around. There was the space, there was the acceptance, there was the reminder that we're the reminder that we're about sustainability, and here's a wonderful opportunity to be about sustainability. So thank you. And it wasn't, you said you were going to do this, that kind of, so I really appreciated the gracefulness and the graciousness of the whole interaction. So thank you.
And thank you, because it offered up a really great opportunity for me to practice and work on the language when I posted things. So I just think your keeping with your taking care of yourself created a lot of really awesome, I would say awesome opportunities for modeling and for people to witness. So
yay. And I could just walk in. I think I literally walked in 15 minutes or 10 minutes before.
You did walk in.
Normally I'm like schlepping in drums and this, that, and the other and all this kind of stuff and we didn't. It was kind of nice. I felt footloose and fancy free.
I enjoyed it too. It was a great ritual, and that was a really great part of it.
Poem?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a poem that we wanted to share, as we normally do, to close out our time together. Okay. And this poem is by Lucille Clifton.
Yeah, and so Lucille Clifton is an African American poet. She died in, actually I can look. Oh, she died in 2010. But she was a Pulitzer Prize winner. Her poetry was lauded by Langston Hughes, and he actually included some of her work in some of his collections. And she is one of the poets that I remember reading 20, 30 years ago and saying, oh, this is wonderful, like kind of that Maya Angelou school of poetry, very kind of almost like haiku, very condensed emotionally in terms of the words, and very few words. Does that make sense? So, and this poem, well, it's called New Bones.
We will wear new bones again. We will leave these rainy days, break out through another mouth, and into the sun and honey time.
Words buzz over us like bees. We be splendid in new bones. Other people think they know how long life is, how strong life is. We know.
Thank you for being with us today as we talk about our summer, and we leave those days behind and move into our new bones of the new academic year. Thank you for moving with us. We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our Witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!